Welcome, everybody, to episode 25 of the Off the Wall Hockey Show. We are into the 2021 NHL Semifinals. We're down to our final four teams. Good series going on with both of them. Tampa versus New York, Vegas versus Montreal. Both are off to good starts, and think we're going to have a couple of long series here as we try and figure out who is going to be going to the Stanley Cup Finals and who is going to come up just a little bit short. But we've got plenty to talk about with those two series, as well as some NHL Awards talk in this episode as award winners have started to be announced by the NHL. We'll talk about all of the major ones. Joined by Steele, as usual, as my co-host. Steele, how are you doing? And ready for another great episode here of the Off the Wall Hockey Show?
Oh man, it's a hockey show for hockey fans, and I'm here to tell you, man, this is exciting. This is great. I love this time of year, man. This is some great playoff hockey.
Yep.
I love it. I'm doing great, man. I'm grateful to be on the show and to be co-hosting with you, man. This is an awesome platform that we get to have, that we get to talk about these great games, these great teams, and these great players. And I'm just excited. And the best part is we're going to get into some of the awards too. So that's going to be really exciting too.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the Off the Wall Hockey Show. It's a hockey show for hockey fans, part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. And we want to give a big thank you right off the bat to our sponsor, Canine Country Club Resorts.
Yep.
They've shown a tremendous amount of support for us all at Steel Flyers, so a big thank you to them, and you'll be seeing a commercial for them later on in the show. But we think it's time to get right into it here, the semifinal series. We've got a couple of great ones going on right now, and let's start with Tampa Bay and New York.
Let's start with that one.
We just watched them last night. Big win for the Lightning, and Tampa Bay now has a 2-1 series lead through the first three games. And this has been a very tight series. Every game has been close so far. Games 1 and 3, I think, were pretty similar. Game 2 was wild. It was one of the most fun games I've seen all postseason long. Just overall thoughts on this series so far and how things are going.
Okay. In the first game, I thought that the New York Islanders basically came down to Tampa and punched him in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically how I felt. And they took a lead in that game, and they were able to hold on and win that game.
Yep.
Okay. So, and I think game 2 was Tampa Bay's response.
Yep.
Okay. And so that was more of an impressive game because you got to see a huge physical side here of both of these clubs, which we knew was there.
Yep.
Okay, let's face it. The first four games in the Florida series, Tampa Bay, there was 342 hits in the first four games.
Yep.
So you're going to expect that these two teams, both very physical teams, are going to be hitting like crazy, which they have been and they are. Okay, so the first game, I think, was the Islanders coming down to Tampa Bay, swinging and hitting them in the mouth and saying, yeah, we're here.
Yep.
And game 2, I believe, was Tampa Bay's response.
Mm-hmm.
So now, all right, now we get the rubber match now because game 3 is going to come. What's going to happen? Because this is in New York Islanders now.
Yep.
At their house. And that place was rocking too. Boy, let me tell you, both places were amazingly, great to see the fans in the stands and all that. And both places were rocking. But it was a different game. It was just... It wasn't the same as game 2.
Mm-hmm.
It was I agree, it was very similar to game 1, where it was the exact opposite, where Tampa Bay came into New York and said, oh yeah, smack.
Yep.
Right? And they were able, Vasilevsky just made more important saves in that game, or more key saves in that game than Varlamov did. Not that Varlamov had any slouch of a game at all, because he played amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in my opinion.
Yep. All
right. I think it was the team in front of him that let him down a little bit. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of chances, but Tampa Bay was able to box them out. But I agree. I think this has the makings of going long, going the distance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely feel this one's going to go.
Yeah, I think so too. This has been a very close series so far. Game 1, Islanders come out in Tampa Bay. They go up 2-0 in the game. They end up winning the game 2-1. And like you said, that was the Islanders coming out and saying, "Hey, we're here. Like, this is a real series, and we're not." We're not going to be a team that you can just walk all over. And they did. They kind of punched Tampa in the mouth and took Tampa a little bit, I think, by surprise. And then in game number 2, the Lightning hit back. And the Lightning said, "Hold on, you're not just going to come down here and just knock us around in our own building."
Yeah,
and
no.
Game 2, 4-2 Lightning win, a little bit more open offensively, a little bit more high energy play. Rather than the defensive shutdown style that we saw in game number 1. And obviously incredible amount of physicality in game number 2, where things got downright wild in that game. I mean, there were scrums after every whistle. We had a fight. We had a lot of times where you had all 5 guys involved on the ice. It was a very wild, crazy, fun game and a lot of fun to watch. And then game 3 kind of reverted back to what game 1 was, where it was much more structured, very disciplined. There were only 2 penalties called all game in game number 3.
I know.
Which there were more than that, I think, on single plays in game number 2. So,
slightly.
Yeah, so it was a very much more toned down game in game number 3, and it went back to a 2-1 score, but this time the Lightning were able to win, and the Lightning were able to win on the road in New York in game number 3. So both teams have shown that they can win on the road. Both teams have been able to win on the road all playoffs long. And Tampa has taken that lead now, and that was kind of the punch in the mouth for Tampa Bay to say, all right, we can beat you in your building too. And now, like Tampa did in game 2, we're going to see if in game 4, the Islanders can have that response game. Yeah. And if they can punch back on their home ice and say, yeah, we're not losing both here. And I have a feeling that I said this last night. I think that this series is going to be tied 2-2 after the first 4 games. I don't think the Islanders are going to lose both at home. And I think we're going to go back to Tampa Bay with an even series. And this series does feel like there's a good shot that this goes all the way.
So here's a couple of quick little fun ones for you. 9-1, the Tampa Bay Lightning, or 5-1, Tampa Bay are on the road.
Yep.
In the playoffs.
Yep.
Okay, and the Islanders are, I think they're 4-2 on the road in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that was going into last night. So
going into last night, yeah. Okay, so both of these teams know how to win on the road.
Absolutely,
which is what you need to do.
Yep.
Okay, so exactly, if the Islanders can come out and respond in Game 4 and even it back up, which we feel they can.
Yep.
Okay, because they can play that run and gun style just like Tampa Bay can, and they can play that defensive style just like Tampa Bay can.
Yeah.
We saw that in Game 1 and Game 3. Okay, and when you saw things open up, we saw that as well too. Now, I think the Islanders are a little bit more offensive-minded, but you still have the Islanders with 3 guys that are leading in the playoffs right now for them win goals. Okay, so, I mean, both of these clubs have good offensive power. Both of these clubs have great goaltending. But like you talked about it last night, there was 21 block shots from the Lightning and 15 from the Islanders.
Yep.
21 block shots. So that means the Islanders, who had 28 shots, right? Of the 28 shots, only 7 really got through. Or whatever the case is, or something.
Well, they would have had 40+ shots.
40+ shots.
They had over 40 shots attempted, but
it was a differential of +7. So, yeah. My mistake there on the math. But yeah, it would have been. Could you imagine that? That would have been, because he played a heck of a good game, and having that many block shots. I mean, gosh, the Islanders did. It just, I agree. It was very odd, like almost like Game 1 only in reverse, where the Lightning came down and said
Mm-hmm.
exactly that. Yeah, we can do the same thing, and now we need to see what the Islanders do in Game 4.
Yeah, it was a very shut down defensive game for both teams. There wasn't a lot of offensive chances. There were shots, but a lot of them were from the outside. What both teams did in Game 3 very well was lock down the middle of the ice. And they locked up the neutral zone, and they locked up the middle of the ice in the defensive zone. And it really forced teams to just kind of work from the outside. And there's only so much you can do. And then obviously both goaltenders played really well. You're not going to beat either one of these goaltenders with, random shots from way out by the boards or out at the point. Not very often anyway.
Well, right. Yeah, not very often.
So, if you keep the puck out of the middle and out of those dangerous areas in the slot or in the crease right in front of the net, goals are going to be hard to come by with this level of goaltending. And that's what we saw. And the Lightning goals that they did score, they were hard fought goals. Braden Point's the second goal. That was just like right in front of the net and able to get it by. And that's that one time when the Islanders couldn't get it out of the front. Tampa Bay takes advantage of it and they put it past. And that's the game-winning goal. And even the Islanders' goal that they scored from Clutterbuck was right in front of the net. It was a scramble in front. The puck was loose, and it just ended up going in off of Clutterbuck and through the legs of Vasilevsky. And it's like the goals weren't clean goals for the most part. They weren't goals that you're just ripping one by the goaltender. There was no time and space on the ice whatsoever. The defenses swarmed to the puck, and they played very good shutdown games, both of them. At the end of the day, the Lightning were just able to score 2 goals, and the Islanders could only score 1.
Exactly. And that Islanders goal that was scored was actually the defenseman Chernak was actually trying to shuttle it back to Vasilevsky, and it ended up going off of Clutterbuck and through the legs of Vasilevsky and in.
I've always hated that play when defensemen try and do that.
What are you doing?
Like, clear it away from your net as much as possible. Like, I understand, like, the thinking behind it is that you can just give it to your goaltender, he'll cover it up, and the play will be dead.
They'll blow the whistle. Yeah,
they'll blow the whistle, they'll cover it, it's over. But there's just so much that can go wrong when you throw the puck at your own net. Like, it's just... There's too much risk there of what could go wrong, and that's what we saw in that Islanders goal is when it does go wrong, it often results in a goal against. And for any defenseman out there, any player, it doesn't have to be a defenseman, just I would not want to be throwing the puck anywhere near my own goal. Go up the boards with it and get it out of the zone if you can.
I guarantee you that if I go to my buddy Lance, who played goal, who still does play goal, and I say, hey, Lance, so tell me, what would you do to a defenseman that's trying to kick the puck back to you?
No, thank you.
He'd probably say, he'd skate out of his net and go up to that defenseman and whack him upside the back of the head going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's a save I have to make.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're not communicating that. Especially in the heat of the moment like that. That's the worst thing you need to do is I'm sorry, but if I'm a defenseman, I'm trying to get the puck going the other way.
Yeah.
Not back towards. But so if you take that play away, then the Lightning win by 2-0.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means that they basically have held the Islanders off the scoreboard. For the most part. Let's face it, this was a fluky goal.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the Islanders' offense has struggled. They've struggled. They didn't get a whole lot going offensively at all in Game 3, and Vasilevsky made some big stops. The chances that they did get, Vasilevsky made a few really big saves that were able to keep that, to keep the Lightning in the lead, or at least keep the game tied at certain points. And but overall, I wasn't watching that game. I wasn't seeing the Islanders getting a lot of high-quality chances where I'm like, oh, how did they not score there? There was a couple, but it wasn't like they were pouring on the offensive attack. And the offense in this series, you look at New York, 2 goals in game game 1, 2 goals in game 2, 1 goal in game 3. They only have 5 goals through 3 games. If they're going to have any chance of winning this series, they're going to have to get the offense going a little bit more than that.
Because the Lightning have 8.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's and it's not like, look, and both of these teams are, some of the highest scoring teams in the league.
They have been in the playoffs up until this series, and this has been a much more shut down defensive series. At least games 1 and 3 were.
Exactly. And even then, you still see the Lightning. I mean, they're a 2-1 lead right now, but it's going to be interesting to see how the Islanders play here in Game 4, especially after losing a tight one at home the first game. So the response, the pushback, it's Barry Trotz. I have no doubts, and no matter what, there will be a Russian in net for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just quoting the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I believe it was the first round, and they said, "Oh yeah, Mr. Trotz, who's going to be in that?" And he said, "Yeah, there'll be a Russian."
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Which one? A or B? Pick one. Hey. So I still think that Varlamov is going to still continue to start.
Oh yeah. He hasn't done anything to lose the starting job. I mean, the games that, even though they're losing, they're fairly low scoring games.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And so I really feel that he's probably earned the right to continue to play.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't think they're going to see any different goaltending in Game 4. Now, if the Islanders lose that game, then you might see a goaltending change to go down to Tampa Bay for Game 5.
Yeah, potentially. If they go down 3-1, I mean, you might try and switch it up and see what Sorokin can do.
I mean, at that point, what do you got to lose?
I mean, at that point, you're on the brink anyway, and you're trying to just find anything that could get you back into the series. But Game 4 is big now, because the difference in a 2-2 series versus a 3-1 series is massive. That is a big, big difference. Obviously, if it's 2-2, it's anyone's series still. It becomes a best of 3. It's a complete toss-up. When a team goes up 3-1, they have a high percentage chance of winning that series.
I think it's like 72%.
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact numbers, but we've had in these playoffs we've only had one team come back from being down 3-1, and that was the Montreal Canadiens against Toronto.
Yeah.
They were the only team to go down 3-1 in these playoffs and be able to come back and win the series. And overall, I think if you look at the playoffs over the last few years, coming back from 3-1 is not impossible, but it does not happen very often.
That's true. That's very, very
it's
true.
It's not as unheard of as coming back from 3-0 and pulling off the reverse sweep, which I've relearned over the last couple weeks. That has only happened 4 times in NHL history.
Wow. The fact that it even did happen. All right.
The 2010 Flyers over the Bruins and the 2014 Kings over the San Jose Sharks were the last 2 times that it's happened, but it hasn't happened since 2014. So, reverse sweeps are very rare. 3-1 comebacks, not as rare, but still very difficult to do. And if you're the Islanders here, you really need to win Game 4. Because not only would you be down 3-1 in the series, but then you also would be going back to Tampa Bay, having dropped both games at home. And that psychologically is not a good spot to be in, knowing that you just lost both games on home ice.
That's true. But both teams play well on the road.
Yes.
So you would have to expect the Lightning to play well enough to at least split the home games here with the Islanders. Same thing with the Islanders. You would have to think that because the Islanders play so well on the road that they would have to split those first 2 games down in Tampa Bay, which they did.
And now the Lightning have already at least split in New York, if not win both. So
yeah. So this game 4 here, you're right, is gonna be a key game, because if you go up 3-1, now everything that you do is facing elimination. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
next time you're on the ice could be the last time. This is your
Yeah.
last shot.
Yeah, you're in the driver's seat when you go up 3-1, whereas 2-2 still very much a coin flip series.
Exactly. And I would be afraid to see Tampa Bay get up 3-1 on a series of teams like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think they did that in the Florida series, and they didn't do it in the Carolina series either. Those games all went to what, 6 games?
No, Carolina, they went up 3-1. They finished that one in 5.
Okay, yeah, that was the
Um,
only other one. Okay, Carolina.
yeah, and Florida, hang on, they won the first 2 games.
Right. And then Florida won, and then
Or no, did they go up? They went up 3-0 on Florida, and then didn't. Or no, did they go up 2? Oh, I don't remember now. There's been so
yeah,
many
I
games.
think they did 2 games with Florida, and
They
then
won the
Florida
first
won
2
one.
in Florida. Then Florida won one.
Yeah,
And then
and
yeah,
Tampa,
you're right. And then Tampa won game 4 and went up 3 to
right?
1. And
Yeah,
then Florida stayed alive
because they won the next
in
game.
game 5. That's when
Yep,
Spencer Knight came in
yep,
and won the first game. And then game 6, Tampa finished it
yeah,
off.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
knew we could
remember
get it.
now.
All right, I knew we could get the old brain box working.
Yeah. But yeah, so no, Tampa has been up 3-1, and they've finished.
Yeah,
Well, the Florida series went 6. They finished off Carolina in 5.
5. Okay,
And they're you don't want to have them up by 2 games in a
like
series
I
because
said,
they don't lose multiple games in a row really in
you
the
know,
playoffs.
when Tampa Bay gets up, guess what? They
Yeah, it's
usually
over.
win. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I was trying to get to. You know, if you get up on the series, a lot of times, especially the Lightning, you
Hmm.
don't want to beat down to the Lightning.
No,
You know what I
definitely
mean?
not.
So this next game here for them is going to be very key here too. So and I'm looking forward to it as well. This has
Oh yeah.
been some amazing games to watch. I've been very pleased with the product on the ice, if you will.
Hmm.
It's great seeing the fans in the stands too. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
like this just gives it a whole different feel. Now, game 3 in Montreal, that's going to be a whole 180-degree turn.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Vegas and Montreal, their series right now is tied 1-1. They split in Vegas, and now it is heading to Montreal. That game number 3 will be taking place tonight. Game 4 between the Lightning and Islanders is tomorrow night, Saturday at 8 p.m. That's going to be a fun one for sure. But Vegas and Montreal's got game 3 tonight. They got to try and figure out who's going to take the 2-1 series lead in that one at Bell Center in Montreal. And the
Mhm.
Canadiens announced that an additional 1,000 more fans will be allowed into the
3,500.
arena. So they went from 2,500, which they had starting at the end of the Toronto series, up
Yep.
now to 3,500 people allowed in Montreal, which is great to have fans in the building. And you know that those 3,500 people are going to be loud and going to be a rowdy, raucous crowd up there in Montreal. However,
Putting it
there's still a
mildly.
difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference between having 3,500 people and having 18,000 people. And, you know, we look at the U.S. arenas are pretty much mostly full now. You've got everybody, you know, 17, 18,000 people there. Vegas was full. You know, and you're in a full arena, and now you're going to one that is going to have, you know, definitely some people in it. It's not like they're going to an empty building, but it's only going to have, you know, 3,500. So that is a difference from
Yeah.
what they were playing in, the environment they were playing in Vegas. And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of an effect that does have on the series.
You're going to go probably see the tents back up on the seats again
Mm-hmm.
in Montreal.
Yep.
You know, and it's going to be like being back in the bubble again, which it actually has been anyway. You know what I mean? Especially for Vegas and Montreal, because according to the regulations that Montreal coming into the United States, they have to stay at the hotel,
Mm-hmm.
right? They can't leave or go anywhere or do anything like that. I believe they're tested every single day,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even multiple times a day. I don't know. I know they're tested at least once a day.
Yep.
Okay, and so they have to have, you know, They have to follow these kind of rules and regulations in order to do this. Same thing with Vegas. When they go up there to Montreal, they have to stay at the hotel. They'll probably be tested every day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because they're going to be up there for the next, 4 or 5 days.
Yep.
You know what I mean? For 2 games at least.
Yep.
Right? Each game is every other day, so that's at least up there for 4 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're going to have to come back here to the United States and then potentially go back up there again.
Possibly, yes.
You know what I mean? So this series here is the one that I think is going to be the most interesting as far as the effects of the travel and the regulations.
Yep.
Okay? And it's obviously clearly we don't have to necessarily worry about the teams because they clearly know how to win.
Yeah.
What? I mean,
what a stark difference in the 2 games that have been played in this series so far. Game number 1, Vegas comes out, wins 4-1, and I thought it was a pretty even first period in game 1, but then from the second period on, Vegas just took control of that game, and it was all Golden Knights, and they were really in control the rest of the way in game 1. And then game 2 comes around, and Montreal comes out of the gate flying in game number 2. It's like game number 1, they were just trying to get their bearings and just figure out what's going on here. And then game number 2, they were ready. And they came out flying in the first period. They got out to a lead. And Montreal really played a lockdown the rest of the way. And they played what I would say is almost the perfect road game. I mean, to go into a hostile environment and to play the way that they did, to shut Vegas down the way that they did. They got out to that lead, and then they just held it. And they did whatever it took to hold the lead and not allow Vegas to get much going offensively. And they played a really, really solid game in game 2. And Montreal showed that they can play with the Golden Knights. And that game 1 obviously went well for Vegas, but that game 2 went really well for Montreal. Carey Price had a much better game in game 2 than he did in game 1. And Vegas couldn't really get anything going. And I will say this, Vegas did not look good in game 2. Like,
no, they didn't.
Something was off there where they were just not into the game. They didn't have the right level of energy, and Montreal was just a significantly better team in game 2.
Okay, so that's where I think you have to place that, okay? Because let's face it, Montreal basically, after the game 1, right? Because that was the first game that they have lost in the playoffs since going down 3-1 to Toronto in the first series.
Yeah, they were on a 7-game win streak until they lost game 1.
And in game 2, they basically just said, "Here, hold my drink a second."
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, and came out flying, exploded, right, for 2 goals, and then eventually got the 3rd goal. And then, Vegas had a valiant effort there, but
in the third especially.
In the third especially, but the last 5.5 minutes of that game, Montreal was just like, "Nuh-uh. No, you're not going to get, no, sorry, no, oh, no, sorry, do you want to try to score? Nope, sorry."
Yeah.
5.5 minutes of shutdown hockey in third period because that's what kept it from going into overtime.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is playing really good defense. That's playing really good team hockey. That's having a really good goaltender.
Absolutely.
Which is why this team is quite dangerous, if you must know the truth, because they have the offense for the most part, and they're young. Their offense is young.
Yep.
Okay, they've got awesome veteran presence on the back end with Weber, who's been playing much better, right? I mean, and then they also got Petrie. They got,
Petrie coming back was huge for the Canadiens.
Okay, right. That too, right? And also the fact that Kotkaniemi and Suzuki have been playing better. Caulfield's been playing better. You know what I mean? So I'll tell you what, man, this is going to be one of those series where if Vegas doesn't watch out, see, it's like Montreal almost took a page out of the Minnesota book, and said, "Wait a minute. Our guys are just as big as your guys. Hey,
yeah,
let's hit them guys back. All right, That's why I think this is going to be a whole different series now going into Montreal.
Yeah, definitely. Montreal, I think, proved that it's not a fluke why the Canadiens are here. That what they've been doing is definitely worthy of them getting this far because they're getting great goaltending from Carey Price, and they would not be here without Price. His play has been absolutely stellar. But they play very sound defensive hockey. Their penalty kill has been outstanding. It's over 91% now on the PK in the playoffs. They've got a big physical defense that does a very good job of locking down the opponent's offensive opportunities. And they've got guys that can score up front, and they're getting very opportunistic offense where they're getting contributions from all throughout their lineup, and they don't have that, one stellar line that's going to stand out as like this great superstar line, or they don't have.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't have these super high-end star players, but they get a balanced attack, a very hard-working, grinded-out kind of attack from all four of their lines. And, it doesn't matter if it's the first line on the ice or the fourth line on the ice, they always have a chance to chip one in, get a dirty goal, score on a rebound, something like that. And they've taken advantage of a lot of their opportunities, and we saw that in Game 2 where they got out to the lead, and then they just said, okay, we're up front and we're going to shut it down. And they played that lockdown defensive style, almost New York Islanders-like, when the Isles get a lead. And they were able to just stop Vegas's offense from getting any sort of real sustained momentum. And Vegas did push to come back at the end, and they made it a 1-goal game, and they got it to 3-2. But at the end of the day, it was too little, too late, and Price was able to shut them down. The defense was able to shut them down, and Montreal came out of there with a road win, and that's what you need to do. They always say in the playoffs, if you're the road team, if you can just steal one of those games on the road, that sets you up to be in such a better position in the series than going down 0-2 and dropping both games and then forcing yourself to win both at home.
Exactly.
Now, Montreal is right in this series, and they deserve a lot of credit for the way that they've played and for getting here and for how they're playing. A lot of people thought Vegas was going to walk all over the Canadiens, and I think Game 2, especially after Game 1, people were like, "Oh boy, here we go!" Like this is when reality sets in for Montreal. But Game 2 said, "No, hold on, we're here for a reason, and we can play with this team." And I'm really excited to see how Game 3 goes.
I'm with you on that. Here's some little bit of interesting tidbit facts for you. In this game, the last game that the Canadiens and the Vegas Golden Knights played, Game 2, where the Canadiens won the game, there were 98 hits.
Wow.
In that game. That's one game.
Yep.
Montreal Canadiens had 53 hits. Right? Okay. Top of that with only 23 shots.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, they also had 26 blocks. Okay, so they played sound defensively with 26 blocks because that's a huge number of block shots.
That is, for one game.
For one game, right? Yep. We just talked about the Islanders of Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay had 21.
Yep.
The Canadiens here had 26. Right, and 53 hits. Holy smokes!
Yeah, it was a defensive game.
But they won 3-2, and they basically just said, "Yeah, no, you're not going to score in the last 5.5 minutes of the game." And I'll tell you what, this is where Montreal has now shown they've now shown their cards.
Yep.
Okay, and they are the team that everybody thought they were. They're a pretty darn good team. And they're here for the reasons why everybody else is here, because they were able to win when they needed to win.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And they're winning when they need to win.
Yeah.
And they have a pretty darn tootin' good team. Look, I can't believe that this same team came out in the first, 20 games of the season and posted a 12 game in a regulation,
point
12
streak.
wins. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first couple of games of the season, you're like, all right, Montreal's for real. Halfway through the season, they fire the coach. Oh, what? This was also one of the teams that in the offseason this past year had some of the most change.
Yep. Made a lot of moves.
Made a lot of moves, had a lot of change. And it was like, wow. And then they came out of the gates flying. And then halfway through the season, they fired the coach. The next guy comes in, and here they are in the playoffs. Okay, so it just seems like this team wasn't that terribly far away to begin with. And now it seems like their young core is starting to come together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look, they played pretty decently against Philadelphia in the playoffs last year, and they beat Pittsburgh.
Yep.
To even make the playoffs last year.
Yep.
So, all right. I take everything back that I said about the Canadiens, man. I'm sorry. I take it all back. Because they are definitely the real deal here, and what they have been doing is quite impressive.
Absolutely. And another thing kind of adding to this series is the health and the lineups of these teams, because Jeff Petrie missed game 1. He missed 2 games for Montreal with an injury. He comes back in game 2. That is a huge boost to
played
the
20
blue
minutes
line.
Too,
yeah, he played 20 minutes in his first game back. That was a huge boost to the blue line. Petrie is a very important player for the Montreal Canadiens, and to get him back and to have him be able to play that much and play that big, have that big of an impact on the game, that's huge for Montreal, and that makes them an even more dangerous team. Meanwhile, Chandler Stevenson was injured in game 1, and he missed game 2. And of course, there's he's just listed as day-to-day. We don't know how long he's going to be out. But it does seem like he could be missing a few games here. And Chandler Stevenson is a big loss for the Vegas Golden Knights, because this is a team that is not particularly deep down the middle to begin with.
No.
And for them to lose one of their top 2 centers, that's a big loss for Vegas. And it seems like that definitely had an effect on the way that things went in game number 2. And when you take Chandler Stevenson out of that lineup, you then either have Nicholas Waugh or Keegan Colasar moving up into a top 6 role. And no offense to either of those guys, but neither of them belong in a top 6 role in the NHL. Those are guys that belong down on your 3rd and 4th lines. And to have one of them needing to play in the top 6 now, that's a tough position for Vegas to be in, and they need Stevenson back, because I think it's going to be a struggle without him. They don't really have the great center depth, and they tried Nicholas Waugh up on that line with Pacioretty and Stone, and it did not go well for the first half of that game, and they actually ended up sending him back to the 3rd line with Tuch and Janmark, where he'd played pretty much all year, and they put Colasar up with Stone and Pacioretty, and that went a little bit better than it did with Waugh, but still, I think they could be in trouble if Chandler Stevenson isn't able to come back in this series. They need him back because they don't have that center depth to really make up for it.
That's the truth. Rob played 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and Colasar, he played 15 minutes as well too. Now, Colasar was at least a plus player, or he was an even player, but Waugh was a -1.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a huge blow to Vegas.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, because that's exactly the reason why they do not have that depth up the middle, and when you have the likes of the speed of Montreal, you need somebody up there like that can match some of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so if he misses the next couple of games, if he misses these next 2 games in Montreal potentially could be up 3-1 at the end of the 2 games.
That would be
in Montreal. Oh, I can't believe I just said that. Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
well, hey.
That's a loss. That's a big loss for Vegas.
I mean, do you think that Vegas can win without him?
I think they can, but they're going to have to they're going to have to get a lot of things to go their way, and it's going to be a struggle. It will definitely be a struggle to win without him. I think Vegas is a good enough team to where it's not impossible, but they're going to need some offense from Stone. They're going to need some offense from Pacioretty. They're going to need Riley Smith or Jonathan Marchessault. Like their big guns haven't been going in this series. Vegas has scored 6 goals in this series. 5 of them are from defensemen. 5 of their 6 goals in this series are from defensemen. They need to get their forwards going. If their forwards don't get going, Vegas is in trouble in this series, and they're not going to win without Stevenson if they're relying on their defensemen to score all their goals.
Score goals. Yeah, because if you look down the list here, Kolasar has an assist, right? Pacioretty, Carlson had an assist, and Marchessault had an assist.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it on their offensive line for that game, 3-2.
No, they need Pacioretty to get going. He's got to score. They need Stone. They need Riley Smith. They need Marchessault. Like these forwards, these top scorers for them need to start being top scorers, or Vegas is in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, Stone played 20 minutes. Pacioretty played 19 minutes. You know what I mean? Marchessault played 17. These are the guys that are on the ice for the longest periods of time here, with the exception of their defenseman. Pietrangelo played 28 minutes.
Yeah, he's been their best player. Pietrangelo's been their best player in this series.
But you need your offensive linemen. You need your offensive guys to be some of your best players as well too.
Yep.
You know, you need them putting points on the board, and zeros on the score sheet for goals is not going to get you to where you need to get to.
Absolutely not. 100% agree with that. So, Vegas and Montreal series is tied 1-1. Game number 3 will be in Montreal tonight at 8 p.m., and we'll see which team's able to come out and get a series lead now and go up 2-1. Montreal had a very, very strong game 2. Vegas came out hot in game 1, but Montreal punched back, and now in Montreal, we'll see which team's able to get that advantage. But
quick question for you. Do you think, now that the games are going back to Montreal now for these next 2 games now, and with Golden Knights missing players, do you think that it could be, do you think that that Montreal has the capability to go up 3-1 on Vegas Golden Knights?
Absolutely, especially if Stevenson doesn't play these next 2 games. We could see repeats of game 2 in games 3 and 4. Absolutely. It's possible, 100%.
Is he even making the trip?
DeBoer wouldn't say. He just said he's day-to-day.
All right.
They wouldn't give any information on it.
Okay, so maybe they don't have to because of the COVID thing, or I don't know.
No, they don't have to give any information if they don't want to. Okay. Nothing injury-wise is really ever said. DeBoer just says he's day-to-day.
Okay, well, so I think that maybe the reason why you're not hearing anything is because if he doesn't make the trip, then more than likely that means he's out for. If he didn't go to Montreal, he's out for the next 2 games. At least.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yep.
So that's why it's like kind of important and key to know.
Well, that's why they're not saying it publicly.
Right. Exactly. So, hey. We're just trying to get the information, that's all.
Yeah, well, they don't want Montreal to get the information.
Exactly. So, all right, that's all good. All good. But I think that's going to be a key factor.
Oh, Stevenson's injury is having a massive impact on this series.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree 100%.
All right, so that is going to bring us to the end of this part of the show, talking about the 2 semifinal series. Coming up next, we'll be talking about NHL Awards. Some of them have been handed out already. Some of them we only have finalists for, but we'll be talking about all of it when we come back. But first, we have a commercial break from our sponsor, Canine Country Club Resorts. I want to give a huge thank you to them for all of their support and their sponsorship, not just of this show, but of the entire Steel Flyers All Sports Network. It is greatly, greatly appreciated, and big, big thanks to them. But here is a word from our sponsor, CCC Resorts.
Greetings. This is Steel Flyers from the Steel Flyers All Sports Network, and we have two very special guests. We are delighted to be joined by Tracy Musser and Nicole Howard from the Canine Country Club Resorts. Tracy and Nicole are both managers for CCC Resorts and work at the Windsor or at the club, one of two locations both in Manheim, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 30th year anniversary of being in business. Let me start off by saying this. Steel Flyer stands behind this company 100%. Taking care of Steel Flyer's furry friend for the last 2 years now, and they are a one-stop shop for everything your furry friend needs. In fact, let's find out what our friends at CCC Resorts offer. Nicole, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. What are some of the great boarding services that you guys offer, and what do we have to do in order to get our furry friends taken care of when we are unable to travel with them?
Well, we like to bring everybody in for a tour first. That way they can see the behind the scenes, they can see where they stay, they can see where they play, and then we explain all of the fun things that we can add on to their reservation, whether it be one of our packages, either a nature walk, a ball time, or even a cuddle time.
Oh, wow, that sounds great. Boy, it sure sounds like a resort to me. So how are you today, Tracy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Tracy, tell me, is it true that you guys have both an indoor and an outdoor pool at the Windsor location?
It is true. We've got one of each, so we're able to offer year-round swimming. The indoor pool is a great option for dogs who are swimming for therapy or rehab. It's got that sloped entry so they can wade into the water. Our outdoor pool is a little bit larger, and it's 4 foot deep the whole way across. And both of them are saltwater pools, so it's really easy on the dog's skin and coat.
Wow, that's very awesome. So then during the summer months, you have a much deeper pool outside and then a sloped entry shallow pool indoors for the dogs. Tracy, tell the folks how we can get some pool time.
Well, the first thing everyone does is come for an intro swim. We use that time to make sure the dog is comfortable in the water. We make sure they know how to get out of the pool safely, and we go over all the pool rules and etiquette with the clients as well. After that, they're able to schedule private appointments where they have the pool to themselves, or they can invite friends and have a whole group swim going on.
So after a dip in the pool, then it would have to be off to the groomers, right? I mean, our furry friends cannot go out looking their best. Nicole, what are some of the great services your top-notch groomers provide?
Our groomers, they specialize in full service grooms. We can do the basics, whether it be just a bath and a brush out or a blowout. Or for the extra pampered pooches, we can do nail dremels, we can do deodorizing soaks, and also facials.
Wow, man, that sounds like a resort if you ask me. Tracy, I know one of the main programs here at CCC Resorts is the WAGS program. The Steel Flyers dog is enrolled in this program. So why don't you tell the folks what is involved in this and how they can get enrolled?
Yeah, the WAGS program is our primary daycare option at the Windsor. It's designed to be a structured program for people who are looking for a set routine for their dog. They all come on the same days each week, which allows them to have set friends, and we know exactly what's going on with each group. So we do a little bit more activities, and we build more into their daily routine there. But we've got other daycare options as well for people looking for a little less commitment. We do an hourly care where you can drop them off and just pay by the hour. We also do a day stay option, which is great for the dogs that prefer human friends instead of making friends with other dogs. And then we have a traditional daycare option as well if you're looking for the occasional outing for your dog.
Wow, there you have it. A full-service groomer, a daycare program, and an indoor and outdoor pool. What more could you ask for? Sure seems like CCC Resorts has everything covered. Remember, DOG, depend on God.
And we are back, everybody. Again, a big thank you to Canine Country Club Resorts for all their support here at Steel Flyers. Not only of this show, but of everyone at Steel Flyers. It is greatly, greatly appreciated, and we could not be doing this without them. So it's time to talk some NHL awards now. Awards have started to come out. We know the finalists for all of them, and the NHL has started announcing winners. They're doing it basically one per night through the playoffs, or from this point of the playoffs on, until all of them are announced. And we've got a few already that have been known, and then we've obviously got some more announcements coming up as we head through this round and into the Stanley Cup Finals. So, talk about the NHL awards. Obviously, we all have thoughts on who we would have picked to win, who we think's going to win for the ones that aren't awarded yet, and just overall thoughts on the winners of each one. So to start, I want to start with the awards that have already been handed out, and we'll talk about the guys who won and if we think that that was the right choice. And then for the ones that we only have finalists for, We'll talk about who we think is going to win based on how the NHL writers generally vote, and then we'll talk about who we would pick and who we think should win the award based on their season this year. So to get this thing started, the Masterton Award, which is handed out, dedication to hockey, perseverance. This is, very close to, I guess, other sports have like a comeback player of the year. That's pretty much what this is for the NHL's version of that. Somebody who's been through a lot. Bobby Ryan won it last year after, his very public battle with alcoholism, and he was able to come back, play for Ottawa at the end of last year. Had a hat trick in his first home game back on the ice, which was an incredible moment. And he won that award last year. This year, it was won by somebody that obviously Steele knows very, very well. Oscar Lindblom of the Philadelphia Flyers. And this, to me, was the obvious choice. I thought that he was absolutely going to win it this year. I think this was pretty much known that he was going to win it before the year even started. This was his year, given what he's been through, what happened last season, and he was able to come back at the end. But I said this last year. I thought Bobby Ryan should win it for last season, and then what Lindblom should win it for this year when he comes back and plays a full season. And he was able to do that for the Flyers this season. Incredible to see after he beat cancer. And to me, this was an absolute no-brainer. But Lindblom wins the Masterton, and I'm sure that you probably think that he was the guy for this as well.
Yeah, I can't argue with this selection at all. He had a rare form of bone cancer, and he had a very aggressive chemotherapy regimen, and this was all done during the pandemic.
Yep.
And then he was able to ring the bell at the Penn Center there to be finished with his chemo treatments, and be able to make it back into the bubble last year to play during the playoffs.
Yep.
Now, it was known that he wasn't necessarily 100% per se. I mean, when you go through chemotherapy, that's basically straight poison in your system.
Yep.
And that stuff kills indiscriminately.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's a white blood cell, a red blood cell, or a cancer cell. It kills it all. Okay, that's detrimental to your body, so that's why it takes a long time to recover, especially from chemo and things of that nature. Was able to recover enough to make it back into the bubble. Play was relevant in the playoffs for the most part. Had a summer off, shortened summer. Was able to come back in the training camp and was able to start the season. He played most of the season.
Yep.
I think he had a bout with COVID, which was a little scary, given his recent cancer issue. You know what I mean? But was able to come out and play most of the season. Okay? And to me, I think this award goes beyond, quite frankly, he was up for it last year as well, along with Bobby Ryan. And so I see what they did there. You know what I mean? Like they said, okay, Bobby Ryan can win it last year. We'll give it to Oscar this year, which is why it seemed like it was a foregone conclusion that when the trophy was announced that his name was listed as one of the finalists.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then it was like, oh, not long after that, oh, he wins the award. Yeah, go figure.
Yeah.
The fact that he was able to come back from this rare form of bone cancer and being as young as he is and being able to be the type of player that he has been for the Flyers, was able to sign a 3-year contract worth $3.5 million a year during that time as well, too, which goes to show you the level of trust and faith that the team has in Oscar Lindblom.
Yep.
You know, because when he went down, he had, I believe he was 19 points in 20 games with, I believe, 15 or 16 goals. You know what I mean? So, I mean, he was on pace to have a pretty good year, and he needs to get back to 100% health. And I think getting a nice full off season will help in that department, getting back fully healthy. So looking for Oscar to come out of the gates flying next year. And this is something we talked about in the earlier segment of the show, too, where I think we're going to get a full regular season next year for the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
Full 82 games. You're going to have once the draft is over at the end of July, and then you're going to have the off season. Then I think you're going to have training camp start right around usual time,
Mm-hmm.
and seasons start right around usual time in October.
Yep. Yeah, things are on pace to be back to normal for next year, which is great. And
with fans in the stands too.
Yeah,
so.
It's going to be a big year for sure. So Lindblom coming back after beating cancer, certainly I think a no-brainer for this award, and he wins it this season. Jack Adams Award for Coach of the Year was announced last night. And this is an interesting one because I thought that all three finalists, Rod Brind'Amour, Dean Evason, and Joel Quenneville, all had strong cases to win this award.
Very much so.
They all coached teams that I think were better than expected this season, kind of overachieved from what was expected of them at the beginning of the year. Rod Brind'Amour from Carolina ends up winning the award. He's the Jack Adams winner this year. Carolina obviously lost in the second round to Tampa Bay, but this is only a regular season award, and they ended up winning the Central Division ahead of Tampa Bay, ahead of Florida. And I think that Carolina's division win, while I think a lot of people and myself certainly expected Carolina to be a good team this year, I don't know if everyone expected them to be a division-winning team. And Brind'Amour brought them to be one of the best teams in the league this season. However, he would not have been my pick for this award, but I think it should have been Dean Evason from Minnesota.
Really?
Because I think when I look at the Jack Adams Award, it is what I look for, the coach that has taken a team that has blown through expectations. That a team that was not supposed to be where they're at end up having a significantly better year than what I thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season. And yes, Carolina was better than I expected them to be, but I still expected Carolina to be a really good team. I had them finishing second in the division right behind Tampa Bay, who I thought was going to win it this year. And Carolina was a very good team, and they were better than I thought, but I still expected them to be good. Minnesota, I thought they were going to be like a 500 team this year.
Yeah, okay, I get what you're saying.
I did not have high expectations for the Minnesota Wild, and for them to come out and play as well as they did and really hang in there with the likes of Vegas and Colorado and St. Louis and finish ahead of St. Louis. Like, I thought of all the teams that Minnesota was the one who beat my expectations by the biggest amount. And for that reason, I would have actually picked Dean Evason as Coach of the Year. But I think all three guys had a very strong case. And Brind'Amour is certainly a deserving winner.
Okay, I see where you're going with that. And I can definitely appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that's exactly what happened. It was a much more improved situation in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Okay, but see, I think that's been building in Carolina a little longer.
Yep.
Okay, and this is like the culmination now of like, this is Brind'Amour's third year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so with what he started with when he first got to the club as the head coach.
Yep.
Compared to where he's at now as the club's head coach, which he just re-signed a new extension and all that other stuff, which that became official and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So signs a 3-year extension. But this was the culmination of those 3 years, and this was that third year where the expectations were a little higher than what they were last year. Okay? The fact that they made it to the second round. The fact that they won the division.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, expectations are going to continue to climb for Carolina.
Yep.
Okay. But that's kind of why I think this is deserving for Brind'Amour. I agree with what you're saying. Harrison in Minnesota had a much less of a team to work with as far as what Carolina had, per se. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And was able to put together a, fourth seed team in Minnesota to make it to the playoffs. And not only make it to the playoffs, but play well against the likes of Vegas.
Yeah, and almost forced Vegas to a 7th game.
Yeah. Okay. So hats off to them. Okay. But like I said, I think this one was more of a culmination of the 3 years, and I think that I think this is I agree with what you're saying, John, but I was rooting for Brind'Amour all the way on this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could also make a case for Quenneville too.
Yeah, Florida was a lot better than I thought they were going to be.
Their expectation levels were, I mean, I don't think either one of us had them picked to even make the playoffs.
I didn't have them in the playoffs at the beginning of the year.
And to finish as the 2nd seed ahead of Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
Like,
it was
what?
a huge year for Florida. That's why I think all 3 of these coaches had great seasons and all had strong cases to win this year.
Exactly. So if you're making the case like that for Ersson in Minnesota, then you almost have to make that same case for Quenneville in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And Florida even has less than Minnesota, I think, because Florida, aside if you take away Spencer Knight, because he didn't play for the season, he only played a handful of games. But if you take away Spencer Knight, I think Florida has less of a team even than Minnesota.
I think Florida's more talented.
Florida's more talented, maybe up the middle.
Yeah, they've got Barkov and Huberdeau and
yeah, up the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't know, man. They almost seem like if you take that away, they kind of seem like a similar.
Minnesota's better defensively. Florida's better offensively. Minnesota doesn't have a lot of high-end offensive talent right now.
Agreed. So there you go. So that would be a tight matchup right there.
Absolutely.
A defense against an offense. You know what I mean? And so, yeah. But got to give it up to Quenneville. Okay. But I was rooting for Rod Brind'Amour on this one all the way.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that he was more than deserving of this award for this year, for the regular season that he was able to accomplish with Carolina this year. I think was, and I'm not saying you can't take what they did in the playoffs in there, but the fact that they were even in the running for the President's Trophy.
Yep.
I think that was probably what gave him the edge in the voting, because when you look at the voting, right? Brind'Amour had 433 points, and Ersson had 233.
Yeah.
So it was a clear.
Yeah, I think Carolina
sniff.
Yeah, Carolina being one of the best teams in the league definitely gave that edge to Brind'Amour, and they were the best. They were the highest placed team out of the 3 teams that the coaches were nominated. So. Definitely think that put Brind'Amour over the edge in the voters' eyes and gave him the advantage for sure.
Yeah, and either way, it wouldn't have mattered. All 3 of these coaches would have been just fine.
Yep.
I wouldn't have cared. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have had a problem with either one of these coaches would have won, but I'm just really glad that Brind'Amour got it.
Yeah.
Because I think Quenneville's already won one, right, when he was with Chicago. And I'll tell you what, if Ersson keeps going the way he's going, he's going to probably win one in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, if the Wild keep improving, then there's definitely a possibility there, absolutely.
Yeah, especially if they come out this coming year. They draft really well. They got some young guys coming up and playing well. You know what I mean? If they get some of that depth and scoring and get some of those guys up there, who knows? Minnesota, he could be the coach of the year next year. Who knows?
Possibly. All right, so next up, we should probably touch on the statistical awards. These aren't anything that's voted on, but this is just based on statistics at the end of the year. Rocket Richard Trophy, most goals in the league, goes to Austin Matthews. Art Ross Trophy, most points, goes to, obviously, Connor McDavid with his absolutely insane 105. So, obviously, those guys offensively were massive forces for their teams this year, and we're going to be talking about both of them later on when we talk about the Hart Trophy for MVP. But Matthews led the league in scoring, goal scoring, and McDavid led the league in point scoring with 105. So Those two pick up the statistical awards, the major statistical awards for those categories, and they obviously both had great seasons for their respective teams.
Whew, man, I can't argue that one little bit. The one that was just recently announced, which was, I believe, yesterday.
The nominees were announced yesterday.
Yes, the nominees were announced yesterday for the General Manager of the Year award. And that's Bergevin. Am I saying that right?
Bergevin
for the Canadiens, which
Mark Bergevin from Montreal. Those off-season moves seem to be paying off come playoff time, at least.
And firing the coach halfway through the season. And getting
wasn't exactly smooth sailing during the regular season, but it's paying off in the playoffs.
Right, I'll say. And then Lou Lamoriello from the Islanders.
And he won it last year.
Yeah.
Lou Lamoriello won this award last year. He is nominated again this season.
I mean, okay, I get it. And I understand kind of why that happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the whole Tavares thing. You know what I mean? Going away from the Islanders and them still being able to go to the playoffs and get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, and they've made some really, really good moves to make that team a contender without after losing their best player.
And they did the same thing this year, too. When Anders Lee went down, they went out to trade deadline.
Paul Mary and Zajac.
Hey, okay. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. And then Bill Zito for the Panthers.
Yes.
Can't argue with what he's been doing down there. I mean,
his first year as GM there, too.
Oh, it's his first year.
So it was his first year as GM there, and they went from a team that missed the playoffs last year, got into the qualifying round because it was expanded, but then got destroyed by the Islanders in the qualifier. So they weren't a playoff level team last year. This year, they come out and finish second in the division and are one of the better teams in the Central and one of the better teams in the league and have a really, really improved regular season this year. So what Florida was able to do, some of the moves that they made in the offseason, letting go of Hoffman, letting go of Dadonov, changing this team around, bringing in Radko Gudas to try and solidify things defensively, getting Mackenzie Weegar re-signed. He's a huge piece of that team. Carter Verhaeghe, what a season for him. He was a guy that could barely get into the lineup with Tampa Bay.
I know.
And is a fourth liner buried with the Lightning because of just how much talent the Lightning have. Gets signed by Florida as a free agent and ends up scoring almost 20 goals this season and playing in a top 6 role for the Panthers. I mean, what a find for the Panthers there.
Exactly.
With Carter Verhaeghe. And obviously they added Duclair as well. He had a solid season. There's so many good moves made by Zito of the Florida Panthers. And that's why, out of these three, my pick would be Bill Zito to win this award with Florida.
Okay. Even with all of the moves that happened in Montreal.
Yeah,
Especially
Montreal
with the
wasn't
coach.
good in the regular season. They barely made the playoffs.
Okay, of the three, all three of them are in the playoffs. Well, all three of them are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But of the three, the Canadiens, right? I just feel that that might be more of the one to get the award because the coach was fired halfway through the year, right? They were able to bring in another coach and be able to right the ship enough to get to the playoffs, and now look where they are. Okay. Lou Lamoriello, he won it last year.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to again.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that he didn't do a horrible job this year,
Yeah.
with everything that they were able to do to continue to put almost the exact same team on the ice that they did last year with some improvements.
Yep.
You know what I mean? All right, okay, what? And then I agree with you about Zito down there in the Panthers, what they were able to do down there. So for me, it's a toss-up between him and Bergevin.
Yeah. All three guys, look at where their teams, look at the seasons that they had, look at where they made it to. The Canadiens and Islanders have made it to the third round of the playoffs. I just think the turnaround for the Panthers, and especially for a first-year GM,
Okay, I see where you're going with that.
I'm just thoroughly impressed with that. And if I had a vote, which I don't, but if I had a vote, it'd be going to Bill Zito in Florida. I think he's done a phenomenal job in getting this team significantly improved in a very short amount of time.
You know what? You've convinced me. You've completely convinced me because I was leaning towards Bergeron for the Canadiens because of all the moves that they made in the offseason last year.
Yep.
Or at the end of the year and all of that, especially the transition of out of the bubble and all that other stuff, right? The fact that they were able to draft really well, which they've done, okay, in Montreal. And then that draft picks are starting to pay dividends now for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's another thing, too, where you have to look at the GM because not only the moves that they make as far as signing the free agents, but you also have to look at who they've drafted. You know what I mean? Especially for Montreal. I'm not saying that Zito hasn't drafted well because, let's face it, Spencer Knight, hello.
Well, I mean, he hasn't really even had a full opportunity to.
That's what I mean.
I mean, he just took over the team, heading into this year. So.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. It's going to be. I do like what you're saying, though, and I am convinced now. I like with what he did down there in Florida with not having the full amount of time like some of these other general managers have had with their teams.
Yep.
And being able to put a playoff-worthy team, not just a playoff-worthy team, but a second round. Or, no, they didn't make it out of the first round.
No, they lost to Tampa.
Yeah, but they still played really well. They were able to get the second seed in the Central. So you convinced me.
Yeah.
My vote would go to Bill Zito for the Panthers for the general manager of the year.
All right, Selke Trophy up next, and this is always an interesting one. Your finalists for the Selke Trophy are Patrice Bergeron from the Boston Bruins. He already has 4 of them, going for number 5. Alexander Barkov, who he's a guy that a lot of people have been talking about eventually winning this award, but hasn't gotten it quite yet. And then Stone. Mark Stone from the Vegas Golden Knights, a rare winger nomination here. This award seems to does pretty much always go to a center. So to have a winger nominated is huge. And Mark Stone had a heck of a year in Vegas and a really, really strong year for him and for them. And a great defensive player from the wing, which you don't see all that often. So those are your finalists, Bergeron, Barkov, and Stone. I know who I would pick for this. I know who I think is going to win, and they're not the same. They're not the same. But
I have to agree.
I wonder if we have the same. What are your thoughts on this? I wonder if we have the same picks for each.
Okay, I think Stone should win it, but Bergeron's probably gonna.
Oh, see, I think Stone should win it, but I think Barkov's going to this year.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Either way.
I want Stone to get it. I'd love to see a winger win this award.
Yes.
We haven't seen that really. It's always a center. But Stone, man, the way that he takes the puck away, the way that he can play defensively from a wing position is absolutely incredible. He's very good in the defensive zone. He's very good at stealing the puck in the neutral zone and making a lot of strong defensive plays with his stick. I really think that this is a year we should see a winger get it, and we should see Mark Stone win this because he's just phenomenal to watch play such a defensive role from a guy who doesn't play down the middle.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I would love to see him win it too because I like his game.
Oh yeah, huge Mark Stone fan.
Right. He's the captain of the Vegas Golden Knights. Everything. He's the emotional leader of that team. You know what I mean? And I'm not just saying that those are reasons why he should win, but if you look at his numbers, for the most part, he plays a lot of his time in the defensive zone. Okay.
Yeah.
He's also pretty decent at faceoffs. You know what I mean? So he can still do faceoffs, even though he's not a center, doesn't play center. You know what I mean? He can still do some face-offs. So he wins some key face-offs, so that's another thing too. He plays in all of the situations, especially on the penalty kill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so that's where he's kind of made his bread and butter as being really good at that too.
Yeah.
So that's why I would love to see him win, even though I don't think he's going to.
Yeah. As much as I would love to see Barkov win, or Stone win, I think Barkov is going to, because
You think so?
this is Barkov has been talked about with this award so many times.
Yeah,
and
they
he
talked
hasn't
about him
won it
last year
yet.
too. Yeah.
He's in the conversation year after year after year, but he hasn't won it yet. I think that this is the year where the voters finally go, all right, it's Barkov's time. And I think they're gonna. I think because Florida had such a good year this year, Barkov had a really good year this year. They're gonna say, okay, it's time for him to finally get one. And he's going to pick up his first career Selke trophy this year. And I feel like this is a year. I mean, they could give Bergeron his 5th. That would be the most all time. That he's tied right now with 4 for the most ever. But if he gets his 5th, that would be the most for any single player. Which I guess they could do if they want, because this is probably Bergeron's 35 years old. It's going to be coming to an end here pretty.
I was just going to say,
shortly.
Got to be coming to the end on this one.
But I think that this is a year. They gave it to Couturier last year. I was waiting for Couturier to finally win this award, and I thought that it was finally his time. Now, in a similar sense, I think it's finally Barkov's time after being in the discussion for how many years.
Yeah, quite a few years.
It's finally going to be Barkov's time to get it, and I think he's going to win it.
Okay, that makes sense. And you're right, because Bergeron's already gotten it multiple times as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
And to see Barkov nominated up there, too, again, to be in the finalists this time around as well. All right, I'm with you. If I had to cast my vote, though, I would cast it for Stone.
Oh, same. I would be voting for Stone, absolutely. But we'll see what the voters decide. And
he might be
maybe
able to
I'm
have
wrong.
another trophy
Maybe Stone
later.
will get it, and maybe I'm wrong about them going for Barkov. We'll see.
He might have a trophy. He might have another trophy later, maybe.
Yeah,
of all the remaining players here, he's the only one that potentially could get another trophy.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, but yeah, I agree with you. We'd both like to see Stone win it, but we think Barkov's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'd be okay.
All right. Next up, we have the Lady Bing. So this is most sportsmanship, most gentlemanly player. Nice guy on the ice.
Most gentlemanly.
Yeah.
Like, who talks like that anymore?
Nobody anymore, but that's
right. Most gentlemanly. You almost have to wait a minute. I gotta straighten the tie.
Yeah, I gotta get the tie on. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
The Lady Bing finalists for this year are Austin Matthews from the Toronto Maple Leafs, Jacob Slavin from the Carolina Hurricanes, and Jared Spurgeon from the Minnesota Wild. I think I know who I would vote for, and I think that there's a good chance that player does win this award this year. And that is Jacob Slavin from Carolina. He only had 2 penalty minutes all season long. This guy was playing 23
regular season, right? This is only for regular season.
Yeah, only regular season.
Okay.
23 minutes a night.
Wow.
Top defensive defenseman for the Hurricanes. And he only had 2 penalty minutes all season long. And I'm pretty sure the penalty was delay a game for throwing the puck up over the glass. So it wasn't even like a roughing penalty or anything like that. He only had 2 penalty minutes all season long in the regular season, playing 23 minutes a night for Carolina. My Lady Bing vote would be Jacob Slavin.
And man, he has been an impact player on the ice.
Oh yeah.
For Carolina. I mean, when he was out for those couple of playoff games, it hurt Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that was part of the reason why they're not playing now. Because they were missing Slavin for a good period of time, and then they were missing Trocheck and a couple other guys that they were missing too. You know what I mean? So, but wow, 23 minutes a night, and only 2 penalty minutes. All right, winner.
Yeah.
I don't even need to see Matthews or Spurgeon.
Nope.
Because I know Matthews got more penalty minutes than that.
All right, so we agree with Jacob Slavin for the Lady Bang, and
That was easy.
that was easy. Now we're on. All right, we got the big awards now, the
This
big
was not
four.
gonna be easy, I don't think.
This is going to be fun. Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. Kirill Kaprizov, Jason Robertson, Alex Nedeljkovic. Those are your three finalists.
Yeah.
Kaprizov from Minnesota, Robertson from Dallas, Nedeljkovic from Carolina. I know who I'd vote for. I know who I think is going to win it. It is the same person. It is Kirill Kaprizov. He led all rookies in goal scoring. He led all rookies in points. Jason Robertson did give a strong push in the second half of the season to come in and try and take this award, but he fell off a little bit at the end. Dallas didn't make the playoffs, which, whether you think making the playoffs or not should affect award voting for individual awards, the fact of the matter is that it does. And it's harder to win an award when your team doesn't make the playoffs compared to if they do. And I just think Robertson came up a little bit short. Nedeljkovic, obviously the third finalist, had a very strong season, but I really think that this is a two-person race, and it's between Kaprizov and Robertson. And because Kaprizov ended up finishing in ranked first in these, major categories in points and goals, I think Kaprizov's going to win it, and he would get my vote for Rookie of the Year.
All right. I get what you're saying, and I do agree. I believe that it is a two-horse race for sure. And I do agree. The true rookie here is Robertson.
Yeah, Kaprizov played in the KHL before coming over.
Right, and Nedeljkovic is 24, 25, something like that, right?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head his exact age, but he's been playing down in the AHL for a few years.
Okay, right. So Robertson, he's the true rookie. Unfortunately, you're not going to see that in the NHL anymore now, where you're going to see true rookies. That's how I look at it as. Mm-hmm. Okay, first year in the league, first time ever suiting it up, whatever. To me, that's who I would give it to, as far as that's concerned. But when you look at the best first year player, I guess is what the trophy is.
Mm-hmm.
So then I do agree it's going to be between Kirill and Nedeljkovic. I would have to, this is tough for me, okay? Because I really like what Nedeljkovic did this year. I really was impressed with the amount of games that he played, the amount of pressure that was put on him, and the amount of faith that was put on him, and the amount of responsibilities that was put on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he came through it very, very, very well. Okay. So when was the last time a goalie has won a Calder? I believe it was Mason from Columbus.
Columbus? Wow, it's been a while then.
Right. So I do agree with what you're saying, though. I think Krill's going to probably take it because he's leading in all the important statistics.
Yeah.
He's pretty much blown the doors off offensively, no matter how you slice it, for anybody for his first year in the league. I would like to see Nedeljkovic win it, but it's probably going to be Kaprizov.
Yeah, I think Kaprizov's going to get it. I remember mid-season, this was before Robertson really started putting up huge numbers, but they were doing like mid-season, who would get it now, and like every analyst had Kaprizov winning the Calder, and I don't think his play ever dropped off to a point where he's going to lose that lead, and
no.
I would be shocked if it's anybody other than Kaprizov, but we'll see if the writers have something up their sleeve and maybe they surprise us, but I think it's going to be Kirill that ends up taking home the Calder this year.
He sort of dropped off a little bit there in the playoffs where it took him a little minute to get rolling. You know what I mean? Of course, now he was playing up against freaking Vegas.
Yeah, and playoff performance doesn't impact any of this.
Right.
These are just regular
season
season awards. So
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but, all right.
I'm with you on that, though. I agree. I think Kaprizov is probably going to take it. I would like to see Nedeljkovic win it, but Kaprizov is probably going to take it. So.
All right, the Norris Trophy. This is an interesting one this year because I don't think there's anything clear cut here. I think this is going to be one of the most contested awards this year between the three finalists. You've got Adam Fox from the New York Rangers, Victor Hedman from the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Cale Makar from the Colorado Avalanche. This is going to be a really interesting one to see how this shakes out this year. Makar missed pretty significant amount of time. Obviously an absolute stud when he is in the lineup, but he missed a decent number of games with injury this year. Yeah. Hedman, I mean, I think Victor Hedman's the best defenseman in the NHL and the best all-around defenseman that we've seen in quite a while. But he admittedly had a down year this year.
Yeah, I was just going to say. Yeah.
This was not Victor Hedman's best season. Yet he still finds himself nominated for this award. And then Adam Fox had a huge breakout season, but played on a team that didn't make the playoffs. And whether it's right or wrong, that does tend to affect voting on these individual awards. I will say, though, I think Adam Fox should win. I would vote for Adam Fox. And even though his team didn't make the playoffs, he was so good this year. And the fact that none of these other two, have things that kind of are marked against them, where Hedman didn't have his best season, really didn't look all that great at times this year, and Makar missed so many games. I think Fox does have a chance to win this, and he would certainly get my vote, even though the Rangers didn't make the playoffs.
I would give it to him, and he would get my vote for this specific reason right here. Hedman has a much better defensive players around him. And much better offensive players around him.
Yep.
And the same thing with Makar. Colorado has much better offensive and defensive players around them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's why I think these guys were nominated, because the level of other players around them kind of elevated them. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Victor Hedman, because I agree he is one of the best defensemen in the league.
Yep.
Okay. And I also agree that Makar is stud. Complete stud when he's on the ice, but his availability.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And he missed a lot of time this year as well, too. So what Fox was able to do with much less around him.
Yep.
And having that breakout season, even with that much less around him, I agree. I don't even, to me, this isn't even a race. This is Fox all the way.
Yeah, I think it should be. We'll see what happens with the actual votes, but I'm with you. This should be Fox all the way. He had an outstanding year and really was a driving force for the Rangers even being close to a playoff spot.
I mean, they were fighting hard at the end.
Yep.
They were trying their best, but that's the other thing, too. Hedman's playing on a Stanley Cup winning team.
Mm-hmm.
Who has, the likes of Stamkos and Kucherov and Sergachev and Vasilevsky, and, you rattle them off, right? And then you look at Makar, and then they've got the likes of Grubauer and McKinnon and, all the guys.
Rantanen and Landeskog.
Landeskog. I mean, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I like Fox for this one for sure, all day.
All right, that brings us now to the Vezina Trophy, best goaltender in the league this year. This, I think, is also going to be a very tight race. You've got three outstanding goaltenders: Andrei Vasilevsky from Tampa Bay, Marc-Andre Fleury from Vegas, and Philip Grubauer from the Colorado Avalanche. All had outstanding seasons this year, incredible numbers, wins, goals against average, save percentage, shutouts. I mean, every aspect of goaltending, all of these guys had awesome seasons. It's tough to say. I think all three of them could win it. I think if they weren't all this good in the same year, I think they could have been the clear-cut winner in other seasons.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a really tight vote here. I think any of the three could possibly win it. I think it might end up being between Vasilevsky and Fleury just because of the names and because of the star power there. Whereas Grubauer doesn't, he's not that household name the way that Vasilevsky and Fleury are. I'd love to see Marc-Andre Fleury finally win it.
Okay.
Because he's what now, 36, 37 years old?
Yeah, I mean, he's the fan favorite now.
He's the fan favorite, and he hasn't won one yet in his career. He's had a tremendous career. He's been an awesome goaltender now for, over 15 years in the league. And I would love to see Marc-Andre Fleury finally win it this year. I would vote for him, even though Vasilevsky definitely deserving as well. He's already won it in his career. He won the Stanley Cup last year. I think Vasilevsky is the best overall goaltender in the league, given, where everyone is at right now. But I want to see Fleury get this award before he retires. And I think this is probably his last shot at playing at this level, given his age. So I would love to see Fleury get it, although I think Vasilevsky probably ends up winning it.
Okay. See, now, Grubauer had a little bit, his stats were slightly a tick better than Fleury's stats.
Yeah, but didn't he play, pretty significantly less games?
Fleury did.
Oh, I thought Grubauer played less than Fleury.
I don't know, I can't. It was really tight, though. They each won a significant number of games, but I think Fleury played a few less games than Grubauer did.
Let's see. Because Grubauer missed a good 2-3 weeks at the end of the season.
Yeah, I know.
Let's see. He played 40 games. Oh, he did play more than I thought.
Yeah.
Wow. Actually, yeah, Grubauer's got a better case for this than I originally thought.
See,
this is a tight race between all three of these guys.
See, that's why I'm thinking, Grubauer's going to sneak in here.
Yeah, no, you're right. He played slightly more games. Fleury played 36. Grubauer played 40. Grubauer had more wins and slightly better goals against average, .03 difference. Fleury had a higher save percentage, though.
Yeah.
Fleury wins the save percentage battle, a .928 versus a .922 for Grubauer. Now, I might as well pull up Vasilevsky's stats now and see. I mean, this is such a tight race. This is going to be fun to see who wins this. Vasilevsky played 42 games.
Yeah.
He won the wins battle with 31 wins on the season. However, his goals against average is over 2, which these other two both are under 2 on the regular season.
See, that's why I think.
And a .925. Ooh, this is going to be tight.
That's why I think that's the key right there. Okay, why I think there's the chink in the Vasilevsky armor. Okay, and why I think you could see Fleury or Grubauer doing this year.
Yeah.
And I also think too, because we've talked about this many times, that once you've won a Vezina trophy, they're looking for that guy who hasn't won a trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Grubauer and Fleury, neither one of them have won a trophy. Not the Vezina trophy anyway,
Not
right?
the Vezina, no.
Right. Okay. And so you could very, very, very easily make a case for Grubauer and or Fleury.
Absolutely.
The one other thing here that I want to say about Vasilevsky is this. He does have that 12-game streak that he did this past year, where he did not lose in regulation for 12 games in a row. So, yeah, he played a little bit more games. Or he had the win game. He won that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I think it was because of those 12 games.
Yep.
That 12-game win streak. But that, to me, is more of the team playing in front of him more so than him. You know what I mean? Because it's not like he had 12 shutouts.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, each one of these guys all had over 4 shutouts for the season.
Yep.
Okay, so to me, you have over 4 shutouts for a season. That's pretty darn good.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's 4 games that you won by yourself. Okay, so all right, you got to give a goalie up who can win games by himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
boy, this is tough.
All right, so I'm gonna have you nail it down, man. Give it to me. Who do you think is gonna? Oh wait,
I have no idea who's gonna win.
Wait. Let me rephrase. If you had a vote, who would you vote for?
Marc-Andre Fleury. For sentimental reasons, I would give it to Fleury. I want to see him get this before he retires.
Okay. I would have to say I would go with Fleury as well for sentimental reasons.
Yeah.
But I would much rather see Grubauer take this trophy home.
Mm-hmm.
I really think he has the numbers. I think even though he missed a little bit of time, you know what I mean, he still has just as many games, just as many wins.
Yep.
His save percentage is up there. You know, everything else is up there.
Yeah, he absolutely has the stats, 100%.
Yeah. For sentimental reasons, Fleury, but I would like to see Grubauer win this.
Oh, this I think is probably going to be one of the most contested awards because all three of these guys are so close.
Agreed. This one more so contested, I think, than the Norris.
Yeah, I agree. This will probably be the most contested, I think.
More so than even the Selke.
Yeah, I think
that's going to be pretty tight too.
It is, but I think the Vezina this year is going to be the most contested award.
Okay. Yeah, I could pretty much agree with that. Yeah.
All three of these guys. I mean,
yeah.
What a season.
The fact that we spent more time talking about this trophy than any of the other trophies.
Yeah. Shows how close it is.
And yeah, exactly. Shows exactly how close this is.
Yeah, this was the only one I had to pull stats out and look at numbers to see just how close they were or not close it was. And these guys all have, in different ways, I think are very deserving. And it's going to be really interesting to see how the votes turn out.
I am too. I can't wait to see who wins this.
Yeah.
When are they going to announce this one? Because I know that the NHL said that they were going to announce a winner every night starting way back on the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I guess we need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Gosh, we're looking at next week sometime.
Yeah.
Boy, they sure are dragging this out, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it'll probably be sometime next week or
yeah.
I don't know. We'll find out, but it's going to be a tight one.
Probably during the finals.
Yeah.
They'll probably.
You might wait till the finals to do it, and
to
do the big ones like this,
like
absolutely.
the Kohler and the Selke and the Okay. All right. Well, you know. Hey.
One award left, and it's the big one, MVP, the Hart Trophy, most valuable player in the league this season. I don't think that this is even going to be close.
Probably not.
I think that there's a clear winner here. And
Probably.
The finalists are Connor McDavid from the Edmonton Oilers, Austin Matthews from the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Nathan MacKinnon from the Colorado Avalanche. And obviously 3 superstar players, some of the best players in the game, and all had big seasons this year for their teams. But for me, this is Connor McDavid, no doubt about it. 105 points in 56 games. Are you kidding me? Nobody else came close to a hundo. Obviously, Matthews had a great year scoring-wise. He led the league in goals. He scored 40+. It was a big year for him. McKinnon played well all year long for the Avalanche, although I think Rantanen had a really good regular season as well. And I think that those two could kind of almost cancel each other.
Goals.
Yeah, they might cancel each other out a little bit. But to me, anybody who scores over 100 points in a shortened year, that's going to be your winner right there. I think McDavid runs away with this one. He would be my vote. And just the point totals are just so insane that it's going to be Connor McDavid.
But if you took McKinnon off the team of Colorado.
Yep.
Right? Or if you took Austin Matthews off the team of Toronto. Right? This is how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would those teams still be able to be as good and or be able to produce the same amount of wins and or whatever the case is if that player was removed from the team? So if you take McDavid away from the Oilers.
They're a last place team.
Okay, so you see where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
So you're voted for the MVP of the team, right? McKinnon, yeah, man, had a great year, scored over 30 goals, was awesome, played well, great. Matthews, same thing, scored over 40 goals, 41 goals, and he played in 52 games, right? Or whatever. McDavid played in every single game.
Scored over 100 points.
And scored 105 points.
Yep.
That is 2 points a game.
Just
average.
Just about, yeah. We haven't seen a point per game total like that in the NHL in a long time.
Since the likes of Lemieux and Gretzky.
Yeah, I can't. I mean,
right?
to be close to 2 points a game over the course of a whole season. Granted, it's a shortened year, but that's still just absolutely incredible.
No. Look, you put 105 points out for McDavid for an 82 regular season game. That's still a pretty good season.
Oh, that's anyone. If you go over 100 points in an 82 game season, you're probably an MVP candidate right there. Never mind in 56.
Okay, so if you play 82 and you get over 100 points,
that's still massive.
That's still massive.
Yeah.
But to do it in 56
games, it's insane. It's insane.
See, I'm trying to put that, comparison to like, okay, if we played 82 games, but we only played 56. So if you played 82 games and you scored 105 points, that's still pretty. I mean, that's not 2 points a game, but man, that's still above a point a game. Okay, and to get any kind of numbers like that is in that rarefied Gretzky Lemieux era. To be scoring that kind of points per game. So I don't even have to talk about any of the other guys, man. For real, McDavid, winner, Hart Trophy. Here you go. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
What do you got for us next year?
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what he can do in a full season next year.
Could you imagine if Edmonton actually put goaltending and a team around this guy? Holy moly. I mean, It seems like they're trying to up there, right? I don't know, man. If they just had some, I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about Smith, but he's getting up there.
Oh, yeah.
And they need some goaltending, and they need some defense.
Absolutely.
And if they had that team could be, whoa.
Right now, they're just too heavily reliant on Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and if you can shut those guys down, they have nothing else. And that's what we saw in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Winnipeg was able to not completely shut them down, but very much limit what they were able to produce offensively. And Edmonton had nothing else. And
that was it. Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, they weren't able to go through. So, hey, man. Yeah, this to me isn't even a discussion. It's McDavid all the way on this one.
All right. So I agree with that.
That was easy.
And that brings us to the end of our awards talk here, and is also going to bring us to the end here of episode 25. It was a really fun one here. Love getting into the awards stuff. We'll see who's able to come out with the wins in the rest of these that haven't been decided yet, but I can't wait to see how the voting goes. Obviously, we've got two great semifinal series going on right now as well. Tampa versus New York and Vegas versus Montreal. They're both a few games in. And it's going to be really interesting to see who makes it to the Stanley Cup Finals. But that is going to do it for episode 25. Steele, once again, thank you so much for being here, being on the show. And we had another good one, and we'll see what happens the rest of the way and what we have to talk about next week.
Man, I can't wait. Thanks very much for having me on. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Canine Country Club Resorts. You can check them out on the web at www.cccresorts.com. You can check them out on Facebook. Also, you can check us out online at www.steelflyers.com. And you can check us all out on YouTube and Facebook and all the other great places. So thank you very much, John, for having me, man. Really appreciate it. Can't wait to check out next week's show. And please hit the like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Let us know what you guys think. Any and all of your feedback is very much welcome and wanted. Thank you very much for having us on, man. Appreciate it.
And thank you to all of you for watching and listening. We obviously would not be here without you. And thank you guys all so much for the support each and every week of this show. It's the Off the Wall Hockey Show, a hockey show for hockey fans. Episode 25 is coming to a close. We'll be back next Friday with episode 26. And we will be getting real close to the Stanley Cup Finals by next week. So
yeah, man.
We'll see which teams are looking like they're going to make it and which teams are going to come up just a little bit short. But huge thank you again to Canine Country Club Resorts, our sponsor. Really, really appreciate all of the support. Thank you to all of you guys for watching and listening. You guys make this thing happen, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a great week, everyone, and see you soon.